Hello, wonderful to see you again. It's Judy from Coffee, Cookies, and Books, and what I'm going to bring you today is my top 10 list. So the 10 best and the 10 worst of the first half of 2025. So with that in mind, I hope to see you on the other side. So, again, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about how the first half of 2025 went. I've got a list of my 10 favorites, and I've got a list of the 10 that maybe didn't work so well for me. I do have a few little things in there to talk about as far as those are concerned, and that'll be that. Before we do, I really love it if you could like and subscribe. I'm well on my way to my first 1,000 subscribers, and it'd be wonderful if you could help me along with that. Also, before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. So first off, one thing I rarely talk about is the book that I wrote, and I just wanted to mention it because I did a slight redesign, had a redesign done on the front cover because I wanted it to just show that it was a romance a little bit more than what it did. So it is a space opera romance, so science fiction based, but definitely with a romantic undertone to it. And it does have a couple of, I would say, chili peppers in there too, so a little bit spicy. And it is The Guardians, and this is by me. So this was the original cover, okay? And it was great, and my cover designer did a beautiful job, but I felt it didn't really project. The Guardians, yes, and even with the flames and everything like that, because that is mentioned in the book. So what I asked her to do was I asked her to incorporate something that had a couple on the front, and I wanted something that was intimate and very close, but in the stars. So this is what she came up with. I think she did a beautiful job. Hopefully you can see that okay. I have changed my angle slightly so that I'm a little bit more front-facing the window in my location, and we're going to try it out and see how it looks for this video. Anyway, so this is the new cover, and I'm pretty happy with it. The other thing that we did was we did change the spine. In the original spine, there was no numbering, so we put a numbering sequence on the spine and changed it to my new logo, which is what's at the top there. And I also wanted it gold, so we did that too. So that was just a tiny small change. And then the other change we made was I rewrote the blurb on the back as well. So those are some changes to it. This is book 1 in a series of 6 books, and the second book is in the editors right now. It's probably almost twice the size of this one. It is a little bit longer. This one is about 300 pages. The next one's going to be between 5 and 550. So it's a pretty long book. So I just wanted to mention that. Other thing that I wanted to show you, I picked up Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair, and it is a tiny little book. Okay, it is about the size of a regular paperback, which would kind of surprise me, but the Crowns of Nyaxia books are about the same size from Carissa Broadbent, so it's similar. This one's a tiny bit narrower, but similar idea. But it's actually an absolutely beautiful book. So it's got a gorgeous cover, okay, and then it's also got a map on the inside of the cover, on the flap, on the jacket, which I think is very cool. I mean, it's like you know, those special edition Fairy Loot style. And then it's got these gorgeous engraving, red engraving on the cover, on the blank cover. And then beautiful end papers. I think the other one's the same. Yeah, so they're both the same. I think it's gorgeous. This is an urban fantasy. I prefer urban fantasy. If I have to choose, urban fantasy is my choice. Found that out that I loved urban fantasy when I read Crescent City, and how much I enjoyed Crescent City. I enjoyed it very much. It was one like the second and third books were 5 stars for me. One of them's on this list that we're going to go over today. And so when I heard this was really good and it's an urban fantasy, I'm like, I just really want to read this book. So yeah, at some point it's going to go on my TBR. And if I don't get to it before the end of this year, it's going to go on my must reads for 2026 for sure, because I love urban fantasy so much. I've actually been considering also, I've written that, but I've been thinking about, I've got some ideas for writing an urban style fantasy. So yeah, that's kind of up in my head. And I just want to mention, this is what I'm reading next. I'm reading it right now. This is the second to last book I have to read on my TBR for July. So I'm really making great headways. It's currently the 24th. This will be finished in a couple days, and I'll be on to my last book, and I'll have read my entire selected TBR for the month of July. So making great headways. This was, the prompt was the book you have with the most ratings on your TBR. And A Court of Thorns and Roses had almost 4 million ratings. Highest out of any of the books I have, even Fourth Wing. So yeah, I mean, what am I? I'm 100 pages in already, which is about a quarter of the book, and I'm enjoying it. I find it's a little slow. It's gotten off to, certain point in it, which is fine, but a little bit slow, but we'll see where it goes from here. Yeah, so, and if you're wondering what's over here, these are all just books that I have to shelve, so had nowhere else to put them, so they ended up over here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the books. I have my list right in front of me here. I did not pull any of these books because I am in the process. I'm going to be reorganizing my bookshelves, and I just didn't bother to do that. And some of these are ebooks, so we will just kind of go with it. But we're going to talk about the worst ones first, and then we're going to go to the 10 best books that I had. I'm going to try to make it snappy if I can. And I'm going to start with, we're going to start from January and go to the end of June, basically. First book was Scourge Between the Stars. That was science fiction, and it was okay. I think I gave it like 2 stars, something in around there. I had some issues with just how the whole book kind of played out. It was a short novella. I think it could have been a little bit longer. I think that if it had been longer, it would have played out a bit more of the history, because I think you really kind of needed that, because there were certain parts where it made no sense on how the structure of it was. So anyways, that was my complaint with it. Wasn't a favorite of mine, and I had hoped it was going to be, but it wasn't. Then we have Hooked, which is a romance, and it's a dark fairy tale retelling type romance. Didn't like it. Yeah, it didn't work for me. But the only part of the book that I kind of liked was the ending, where the female main character grew some balls, and that was it. So I would say I will not be continuing with this series. Now, next is The Confessions. Now, this one was an ARC, and it was an ebook, and I did not complete it. Now, I don't have other I have, like, anything I have that's a DNF on this list, I got more than 50% through. So with this one here, I think I was almost at the 50% mark, and I gave up on it. It just, I didn't like the way it was written. It was very pretentious, very highbrow, I guess is one way of putting it. Yeah, just nothing worked out about this, and it was kind of science fiction, a little bit of fantasy. It was about like AI, and I just did not like this book. No, actually, I think I did finish this one. Sorry, I really don't remember much of it because I didn't like the book at all. Then Beauty Queen's Guide to Murder. That's kind of like a cozy murder mystery type book, and I thought I was going to like it, and I ended up not liking it. I think it was kind of like really middle of the road, like 2.5. It is a series, I think, and the first one was it for me. I won't read on with that one. So these next two, I'm going to mention them together. It is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead and We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. Now, I read both these books during Escape the Readathon in April, and I rated them really low, 2 stars. Now, I'm not going to say too much here because I actually think I don't do a lot of vlogs, but I actually think I'm going to do a vlog for these books, and I'm going to put them in together. Maybe I might do them separately, especially because We Used to Live Here. So there were a lot of things in We Used to Live Here that I found convoluted and confusing and almost broken as you're going through the book. But I have since watched several longer videos about what transpired. And the reason I watched them is because I don't care if they're spoilers because I've read the book already. So I am going to go back and reread it, especially We Used to Live Here, because I think that now I will pick up and I want to go into it with the understanding of exactly what was going on in the book. So, you get kind of that inkling, and there were a lot of things that I didn't miss. I picked up on those things, but the one thing that I had not picked up on at all were the documents that were appearing in between that one. So that book, that's why I want, and I'm going to reread it. The other one that I'm going to reread is We Used to Live Here, of course, by Ashley Winstead, and the reason is because I read this one. This is the story, the girl in it has just lost her father. She is just in college, and it really hits her hard. And she is very depressed, like very depressed. And it's a bit of a downer, but it also is following her journey to try to get out of that depression. But the route she takes is perhaps not the best one. So I want to go back and reread it because I think that I didn't do it justice because I was trying to fit so many books in to Escape the Readathon all at the same time. It was like this big rush of books. And so I think those two suffered because of that. So I want to go back and read both, and I'm going to actually vlog the reads on both. For We Used to Live Here, I'm going to do it by chapter, and I'm going to analyze the chapters based on everything that I've picked up about that book from other people now on what's going on, what's actually going on. And I want to do all of this before his next book comes out, because the next book I think is tied into the same universe. So anyway, I want to do that. So that's those two. Okay, then we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. It was just a romance, and it was a boring romance. So I don't have a lot to say about it. I think that, people obviously might like it. I didn't particularly think it was bad, but I didn't think it was good either. It was just very, very mid for me. Next one, The Wraith King. This was one I DNF'd. I DNF'd it just over 50%. Hated the direction it was going. Didn't like what was happening between the two main characters at all. I liked the beginning of the book, but after that, it was like it went downhill from there. So this is by Juliette Cross, and I've never read anything else from her. So I would be open to reading something else from her, but this book didn't work for me at all. Next one is The Close-Up by Pip Drysdale, and this one just, very. When did I rate it? 1 or 2 stars. Didn't like it at all. There was nothing about the story that appealed to me. It was very vapid and shallow, and that was how I felt about the characters and about the story. So it was kind of like neither worked for me. I can see that it might work for some people, just did not work for me. Was not at all what I was expecting from this particular book. So Yeah, no. And then the last one for the worst was Remember the Fear. I just finished that in June. I just reviewed it in June. Intensely disliked the book. Um, yeah, I just don't want to say too much because it just looks personal. I think that when we're reading these books, we have these visceral reactions where we like something, maybe we it's kind of, and we hate something. We love something, we hate something. There can be those extremes, and this one was just like, it was like, but I kept reading it, which is really stupid because I should have just DNF'd it. But the whole book was written in such a way that I hated the writing. I think that was what it was. I just really didn't like Molly Black's writing, so I will not read anything from. This is not Holly Black. This is Molly Black, and this was a Clara Pike FBI thriller series, I think, and there was nothing thrilling about it at all. It was just bad. So that's it for the worst books that I've read up to the end of June. Okay, so let's talk about my favorites. So all of these books are 5 stars, some of them are 6 stars, okay? These are my absolute favorites for 2025 to the end of June. And I can't say enough about them. So the first one I read in January was Wool by Hugh Howey. And yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, science fiction is something that I truly love. I need to take a sip. Can't let my coffee get cold, right? This is about basically you can't live on the surface anymore. It's like toxic, gone to shit. And everybody's living in these huge silos underground. This is like hundreds and hundreds of people in this one silo, and they think that's all that's left of society. And basically, you can't go outside, and if you commit a crime, you're sent outside to die. So that's kind of like the base premise of the story, but there's so much more to it than that. So much more. The politics of it is crazy. And the emotions in it are fantastic, and the stories from multiple perspectives and how it impacts these people. Yeah, wow. It was such a good book, and I enjoyed it so much. Then the next one that I read was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Now, I have not read anything else from her. I do have her City of Brass series, and I do plan to read it because I loved this one so much. So not normally historical fiction type person, but this story blends, like, I think it's 13th or 14th century Persian history with fantasy on the sea as pirates. I mean, it was fantastic. I loved the fact that the main character, I think she's about 40-ish age-wise. She's not young. She has like a 12-year-old daughter. She's awesome. And I loved the main character, but I loved her and all the other characters that went with her. So it was like this group of amazing people. But then everything that happened on the ship and how it it was a prime. Awesome book. Loved it so much. And that was like, after I read, I'm like, picked up the whole series, the 3-book series for the City of Brass, because I really want to read that, because I think that's based in Egypt. So I just have to read it. It's like, the next one is Killer Instinct, which I think is the second book in the Naturals series. And I actually just read the 3rd book in July, and like, wow, yeah, great. I can't wait to get the last one. The last one's getting read in August, so I have to read it. But it is the story of these 5 teenagers, and they have been brought in by the FBI to basically profile cold cases. And but it ends up being so much more than that. And each of these kids has a special ability. Now, nothing that's like totally weird and like fantasy wise. No, just instincts. They have instincts. And so this is the second story, and it just kind of continues. It is sort of a self-contained case, but it still manages to tie back into the first book. So that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to say any more than that. Yeah, it's so good, because you don't want to give away everything, right? No. Okay, so next up is the second book in the Expanse series. I read the first book, I think, in January. No, I read it in December. 5-star. I did not think Caliban's War could be better than their first book, and it was 100% better. And that's saying a lot, because the first book was 5 stars for me. This was phenomenal. I enjoyed every part of it, right from the beginning opening chapter to the last chapter. Okay, there was nothing that was in it. See, in the first book, even though I loved it and it was 5 stars, it started off a little bit slow, picked up pace as it went through the book. And of course, you've got your world development that had to happen, and you had your character development that had to happen. So there's all of that. This picks up where that left off. You know, don't want to say too much because it's going to give it away, but it's dealing with one of the characters from the first book. So he's one of the main characters going into this story. But you still haven't lost the other main character. He's not gone. So anyway, this deals with, you have several factions in space. You have people that live on Mars, you have people that live on Earth, and then you have people that live on asteroid belts. And so, they're all referred to, there's the Martians, the Earthers, and the Belters. And that's kind of how they're referred. Then there's like a faction that's like a rebel faction, all kinds of things like that. And it's been a sort of they're not at war, but they could be, right? So it's been a balance. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a balance there, but that balance could shift at any time, and this is what's happening, okay? And it's happening because of something that happened in the first book. And like, it's so good. Oh my God. I love it. Need I say more? And I just read the third book in July. That was my first read of the month, and enjoyed that as well. So even though people have said the third book's not as good, but I still liked it. Then I read House of Flame and Shadow, which was the third book in the Crescent City series, and I gave that 5 stars. I loved the ending. A lot of people don't like it. I loved the ending. So, you know, I get that, you know, everybody has a different opinion. Everybody, you know, everyone's different. I freaking loved it. So this is the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas, and it's 3 books. Read the first 2 at the end of 2024. Loved them completely. They were like, you know, fantastic. Now, I will say the first book, I probably gave it a 3.5, and that was, I found it was like the first 200 pages was a slog to get through. But once you got past that, oh my gosh, it was so good after that. And so that was why I gave it last. Book 2 was like top tier for me. And book 3, I loved the way it ended. So yeah, so that series is done, sadly. Yeah, but I am, of course, starting my next series with her, with that one. So we'll see how it goes. That is not an urban, though. This is why I liked Crescent City's an urban fantasy. Loved it so much. Okay, then the next book is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, like, wow. Such a good book. And I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. I thought I'd try it out because it's different. I like different. It also had a bit of a sci-fi element to it, obviously. And I liked the fact that people were saying, it has a comic feel to it. I like that too. I don't like not all my books, but I like it if it's done well. Well, let me tell you, this book was so good. It's just the most entertaining read I've had so far this year. Was the first book. Enjoyed the second book, okay, but the first book was stellar and just like a rocket, okay, shot off. And now I'm addicted to the series, to where they are in the series. It's like, yeah, wow, fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. That's Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. Fantastic series. Okay, then the next one is Chasing the Storm, which is the final book. It's the 10th book in the Stealth Ops series by Brittney Sahin, and it was my favorite of the 10 books. I don't even know if can I say that it's my favorite out of all of her books that she's written? Pretty close. It was really, 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 really good romantic suspense. I love romantic suspense. If I'm going to read a romance, that's what I prefer to read, is romantic suspense. And I've now found another author that writes romantic suspense that I like the way she writes, and that's Cowles. So this is another one of hers right here. I've bought a few of hers. Really looking forward to reading on. I've read one book from this series, and I've picked up a couple of others. And so I'm hoping that I like her just as much as I like Brittney. But it was kind of sad because Chasing the Storm is actually the very last book of Brittney's entire backlist and everything that I had to read. So it's a bit bittersweet, but ended with a bang. Freaking loved it so much. Anyway, I know that's kind of crazy, but yeah, I loved it. Next one is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. So it's the first book in the series by Elle, Cosimano. And oh my gosh. So this one is another one that, I picked it up because it's got everyone says it's like cozy feel and that it's comical. But it was so funny. And it was just chaos. Okay. I mean, I just finished reading the second book, and it was just as chaotic. I loved it just as much. So I don't know if it's that maybe I like chaos, and maybe that's like why I like Dungeon Crawler Carl, because it was pretty much chaos too. So I loved this. So I can't say enough about how much I also liked the second book, which I just read in July. And yeah, freaking fantastic. Okay, then Fragile Sanctuary, which is the first book in this series by Cowles. It is the, Sparrow Falls series. It was book 1, and it is a romantic suspense, and it's about a very tight-knit foster family group of people. I loved the personal interactions of the characters. I liked the interaction between the main female character and the male main character, who was a grump. And she was just amazing person, I thought she was. And just how they came together. There were just so many elements, but also the suspenseful part of it is considerably different from Brittney Sahin. So in Brittney Sahin, the majority of her books are written around guys who they work in security, like these teams, or they are Navy SEAL teams or whatever. So it has a very different feel to it, whereas Cowles is very just normal people, okay? But it's still, it was great. Gosh, it was good. So I loved the first book very much. That was Fragile Sanctuary. And can't wait to dig into the second book. I know I'm going to love it. So then the last one on the list, and probably one of my favorites, next to Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I would say was a 6-star, okay, was also The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. 6 stars and shooting for 10. Okay. I loved this story. I had just joined Aardvark, and Aardvark had A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, and it was offering the Tainted Cup. So it wasn't one of the main offerings, but it was one of the secondary ones that you could choose. And so I thought to myself, well, I can't really read A Drop of Corruption without reading Tainted Cup. So I bought both together, and the Tainted Cup. So this is in a fantasy world with magic systems. The system works on such a way that people consume these herbs and things like that that change them, change their DNA, change who they are. It's very unique, but it centers around a murder mystery with detectives. And I loved it so much. I thought it was just amazing. I loved the way it was written. I loved the way the characters were written. I loved the development of the characters from the beginning to the end of the book. And I can't wait to pick up A Drop of Corruption because of it. Because it's like it's a murder mystery series, but it's set in a very unique world. Very unique. So I can't recommend it enough if you like science fiction and you like just a truly unique world. I mean, there's even elements of the world that have an urban feel to it. It's hard to describe because it kind of has a little bit of everything. Okay, it even has elements of Japanese and Chinese culture, I felt, built into it as well. And it has a lot of politics. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's just so good. Yeah. Can't say enough about it. And you know what? Happy to end the video on that particular book because it was the best. It's going to be hard to beat, I would say. It's going to be hard to beat the rest of this year. I mean, there's going to be, a lot of good ones that I'm sure I'm going to read, but I think that The Tainted Cup and Dungeon Crawler Carl, those two, because of their uniqueness, because both of them are truly unique, okay, they're going to be hard to beat this year. So we shall see. All right, so that's it for me for this video, and thank you for sticking around, and I hope that you liked and subscribed to my channel because I've got a ton of videos. I like to try to bring 2 a week as much as possible. Sometimes I only have enough time to do 1, but minimum always 1 a week, and I always do have a lot of shorts that I have that if you're subscribed to me, hopefully you get those too. And that just talks about some of the things that you might miss in some of the videos. So they're just in nice, sweet, short form for you. And I also have just started a Discord channel, which is below, link below. Don't have a lot of members yet, but it's just kind of a place where I would love to talk about a book like We Used to Live Here. So I created that for that purpose so that we would have a private place where we can chat about particular books. And yeah, so I created that too. So that is below as well. And yeah, that's it. So we will see you in the next video. Hope you have a wonderful day.